Fixed bayonets, comrades. This is Chief Guard of the Republic radio show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burvid. Every Saturday, noon until 2 on WRMN, 1410 AM. Or you can stream us on WRMN1410.com, or you go to the YouTube live channel for WRMN 1410 AM. And you can also go to cgr.silink.net to watch get links to our show, which will be on Chief Guard of the Republic YouTube channel. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Oh, let me see if I got you.
Hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. You're on computer too. Yeah.
I can't see myself, but I can hear you. I can't see you either.
I got you. I got you here up on the screen, so I can see you. Yeah, we're playing with the Zoom.
I don't know if you're live on YouTube though.
Yeah, you don't see me live there?
No.
Well, okay, let me see. Cut transitions, preview. Z1 and Z2 start recording. Zoom. WRM mute. Video more and no, it seems to be going. Share. Nope. That's not it. Okay, I can't make this out. I can't. He says that we're not popping up on the YouTube. All right. So we are. I guess we are popping up on there, according to the guy's previous show. So we're kind of on his show. And Z1 and C1. Well, he's C2. I got him on computer too. That's where I'm getting the sound. But for the cameras, I'm Z1 and C1. Yep. So shouldn't that be C2?
Nope. As long as you both put it up on here, should be good.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
But I can't.
You can't see you.
All that it says is the main screen. WRMN 1410 Fox River Valley.
Yeah. To transition.
Now we're on.
Okay. Thanks. All right. So sorry for the delay in the start of the show. There, a little bit technical difficulties. I wasn't gonna. I wasn't planning on doing it all alone today, but I'll do it. I'll make it through. Anyways, Paul, so we're going to talk about trains today. I see you got your hat on there.
I do.
And can you tell me who originally designed that hat and why it became so popular amongst the engineers?
Was it Casey Jones?
Was it? I wouldn't know.
I don't know. Could have been.
Could have been. It was like, everyone's got a, the baseball hats, baseball players had them. There's always the military, the Kepi hat. There's the Farage cap. There's the Garrison cap. There's the then there's helmets, various helmets out there, Doughboy helmet and the steel pod and everything, and of course the conductor hat there. That's iconic with the white and blue stripes. So Paul.
Yes.
So one of the things I want to talk about was rail operations in the United States and how they kind of apply to the national security, not just our national defense, but our national security when it also comes to economic and especially logistics. Which country in the world has the greatest amount by kilometer rail lines?
Which country has the largest?
Yeah, the most rail lines by kilometer.
Would be the Soviet Union or Russia.
No, we kicked the snot out of them. India doesn't even come close. It's like
really?
It's like us, the Soviet Union, China, then India. Right? And then if you even back up the entire European Union, all Spain, Portugal, France, Germany, all the countries in the European Union, we still have more kilometers of rail line than any of them.
So the engineer cap was designed at the turn of the 20th century by George Stormy Cromer and his wife Ida. And George was an engineer for the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad in Kewanee, Wisconsin. And he created it to stop his baseball caps from blowing off while he was looking out of the window running the engine.
Okay, so it's a tighter fit than a baseball cap. It's got,
Yes.
yeah, a little bit more on the back head, so it holds on a little tighter there. And yeah, you wouldn't want to, you're going on that engine at 60 miles an hour, and you got to look out the side window to see a lot because you're very high up, right? There's a limited visibility to the front for the first couple meters, right, on a train. So that's nice about the hat there. So we got about over 220,000 kilometers of rail line. That includes passenger line and heavy freight line. And one of the things I was thinking about, one of our first shows, we had a guy call in about electromagnetic pulse, all right, and nuclear war, and what an electromagnetic pulse can do. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to wipe out all electronics, right? Your cell phones will be gone, your computers will be gone. Any little thing, especially in cars, and all these cars now, they're massively reliant on electronics, massively. But if you took a steam-driven train where all it is heat and steam, and you were able to override the electronic controls that modernized and put it in, and just have the valves, you'd still be able to move that train. You open the valve to increase the steam, decrease the pressure, add more water, get a heavier steam, and you still be able to go. Same thing goes with an old type diesel engine, especially the old type, or an old type car engine, because there wasn't a lot of electronics. It was just a coil, which is, because it's a high voltage system, is going to be kind of immune to the electromagnetic pulse. It's the low voltage systems that tend to get melted and fried, because what happens is once that pulse goes by, it's just massive radio waves. And these radio waves hit the circuits, the metal, and they act like an overwhelming Tesla battery. And it throws so much voltage into the system that it just heats it up, sears it, fries it, melts it, everything. And boom, now you don't have transistors, nothing works. You don't have the diodes, it's not working, everything's burned out. But on the older systems, like the old internal combustion engines, anything like pre-1970s, when they started adding in electronic ignition, right, would work fine, would work fine. And maybe some of the smaller wires have to get replaced, but so you got a diesel engine powering electric motors in the new locomotives, and those will be, you can override those electronic control systems, and you can still use the diesel engine to power the electric motors straight to the batteries. The reason the electric motors aren't going to give out, again, it's a heavier duty system. It's used to the higher voltage, the higher ampage, the higher wattage, so an electromagnetic pulse, it would kind of just absorb it. So the things that are highly reliant now, modern aircraft, modern cars, modern trucking systems, modern tanks, anything with motors in it now is just super highly reliant on electronics. However, the trains would be the simplest to fix and to keep going, to make sure that our logistics, we're still going to need oil, we're still going to need coal, we're still going to need food transported around, and that'll keep society going. Countries that don't have a large that don't have a large rail system and rely on vehicles and trucks to get heavy amounts of supplies inland and everything, they're going to be stressing. Those countries will be stressing to do it because you'll be stuck with either rail or boat. And if you can't transport your stuff by boat, it's got to be by rail. So
the first diesel electric locomotives were invented in Switzerland in about 1912. And then they came to the United States around 1925 with what they called the box locomotive. And that was kind of popular on the East Coast because New York had ruled that you couldn't run steam trains in the city.
Yep.
And so they had to have electric trains for their L cars.
okay, yeah.
So that's how it started. And then it progressed very rapidly from 1925 through the 1930s. And there were major diesel electric lines out in the Pacific Northwest. And they felt that that was more economical than having to stop, re-water, re-coal or re-oil, and then carry on. Because all you had to do was carry your own fuel to run the diesel, to run the electric, to get the motive power.
And you're a train, you could carry a lot of tanker cars just filled with it.
That's true.
And it's easier to deliver the oil than it is to constantly shovel in coal.
That's true.
Yeah, and the coal, you would need a lot more coal, and you would have to constantly either switch the trains or have a mechanical delivery system other than just human power. So
now, last month, the big boy came through the Chicago area, and co-host Marla and I went to see it, and it's amazing because it has several tenders, one for water and one for the oil. And then it's able to go long distances. And that train started in 1941 and went all the way to 1961. And when it traveled in far and distant routes, it added extra tenders so that it had a constant supply and didn't have to rely on stopping all the time.
yeah, one of the things, now my understand, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're a train expert on this. When you see a train come by and it starts out and there's like 4 or 5 locomotives at the front, is that because the train's so long and it needs the power of extra locomotives, or is it just that when one locomotive runs out of diesel fuel, they switch over to the other one?
Well, it's kind of could be a little of both, but the interesting thing is very often you'll see in the midway point of the train another locomotive. And that's because the train's so long, they don't want too much weight coming from the front. Because remember, those couplers are holding millions of pounds of weight, and they could just shear. So they push while the others pull, and then they bring it. And then a lot of times, particularly on the East Coast, you'll see a utility type engine like a GP. And what it does is it provides electricity for the train, for the passenger cars, because they use electricity. Like in an airplane, there would be an auxiliary power unit. This would be the power car. And I noticed that on the big boy that they had passenger cars, like 12 or 18, and they had to have electricity for the guests.
Yeah.
and they had to have electricity for the gas. So they had a diesel that was providing the electrical power for the cars.
Nice. Yeah. Now, here's what gets me. That's not. But if the train's rolling, why wouldn't you just have like generators or alternators hooked up to the wheels? You know, because you're not really pulling that much. That's not adding that much more friction to the system, and it could be geared up to the fact that it'll really spin a generator.
You're talking like a flywheel system, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking like a flywheel system.
Like your car has
that's kind of common in model trains, but not in real trains.
Okay. Yeah, because like I understand the diesel engine and everything, and providing that power directly to the motors, and that's going to be a high voltage system, and you don't want to actually throw transformers in there and drain from your power source. But as you're rolling along, as the train picks up speed, those wheels are turning. As the wheels turn, they could be hooked up to a gear that turns a like alternator generator on each car, providing individual electricity. But trouble is, once you stop, it's gone, unless you got a battery backup system on there. I guess having one car that does it all is a better option on that.
Or what they could do is put solar panels on the roof,
which is good until night hits.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and all that, you know, and okay, that's an interesting topic there. Instead of, I guess, you know, solar panels really aren't that efficient, all right? So if you roofed every single car there with solar panels, every single car, and then you had to daisy chain them with wires, and then try to use that to, one, charge batteries and then draw off the batteries to power the engines, the motors, and the locomotives. That would be I wonder if anyone's ever done the numbers on that.
You know, you're right, but I got to think about something. You know, like, you know, if you watch that baseball movie, if you build it, they will come. Remember something. In the early 70s, we built Voyager, and it's now outside the solar system with solar panels, and it's still sending a signal back.
Yes.
And at this point, it's reached one light day.
Yeah, one light day.
Light year. So it's reached one light day. So that's they have the technology. You know, it's like Steve Austin. They can build it better, stronger, faster. They just don't want to do it.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that, but it gets to the point of, all right, so we know the trains have been using since 1912, right? Like you said, Sweden, right? Had the electric diesels, right? So basically the diesel motor powered electric generator, which transmitted the electricity directly to motors that ran the motors that pushed the locomotives, that ran the wheels on the locomotive that pulled the whole train. Okay, and if you have electricity there, and of course we know that the L trains and a lot of the European trains are all working off an electrical grid, like our elevated trains, the CTA. All those are on an electrical grid, so they run on electricity. There's no internal combustion motors on those at all. So, and it would be, I could tell you why they don't do the main trains that way all across a rail line, because you would be zapping people left and right. They'd be getting, out in the hinterlands, they'd be getting electrocuted left and right. Little animals would be getting electrocuted, blocking the trains and everything. Even if you tried to have the a cable system up there, people would find a way to really get hurt, right? And over long distances, the resistance that's created on that, you're losing the charge. It's like slowing it all down. So the further away you get from where the original charge is being put in, the slower the train's going to get until it gets closer to another source of power. But I'll have to figure it out. You think you can?
Do you know that's exactly why they had to create alternating current.
Yes, go further
Because
distance.
the favorite current was direct current because it was safer. But alternating current is allowed to go over longer distances. That's why we have alternating current transmission lines. And that's why they were able to have those GG1 locomotives on the East Coast going all the way from New York down to Washington and New Jersey and all over because of the overhead catenary system.
Yeah, but I wonder if any model train enthusiast has scaled down like actual weight ratios. Like, so if you got a locomotive and you hit a real life-size one, and I know they do it by scale for the model trains, right? But it's a scale of size. I wonder if the scale of weight is still there.
Well, with model train, the lighter the train, it doesn't work. You have to add weights to it.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the friction.
Well, yeah, but the wheels will spin, and toward the end of the early '60s of the original Lionel, they were having trouble. They were making trains cheaper and cheaper, and they didn't have traction tires, or Lionel created magnet traction where they send electricity through the wheels to connect it to the rail. And that way you could go up grades. They invented that in the 50s. And that was called magnet traction. It's kind of similar, to railroads, only railroads go by weight, not by magnetism.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is if you took a model train and you scaled it by weight, like, okay, so if it's one, what are trains scaled at? Like,
they're basically
all right, we got a hard break here. Yeah, when we come back, second quarter, Chief Garter Republic Show. I gotta find.
We're still live.
I know. I'm figuring it out.
But the commercial is red.
Yeah. Come on, Mike. Okay. Oh, here we go. So the commercial should be here.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga. My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
They're simple, boring, never thought of until they're needed. They're windshield wipers. Only when Mary Anderson became annoyed that New York trolley drivers were stopping to wipe their windshield by hand did anybody do something about it. By attaching a spring-loaded arm to a rubber blade, one woman made travel easier and safer. Look to innovate and pass it on. From passiton.com.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Building a house is hard, but have you tried removing one? Flood Brothers takes the mess out of demolition. With fast roll-off dumpster delivery, reliable debris pickup, and a family-owned team that takes service personally. Call 630-261-0400 or visit floodbrothersdisposal.com. Flood Brothers Disposal, proud sponsor of America's First Responders Fest.
America's First Responders Fest began as a simple idea to honor the heroes who serve our community every day. Thanks to the incredible support of the Village of Hampshire, especially Village President Mike Reed, Village Manager Jay Hedges, and Karen Stuhler. This year, that idea came to life. From local residents to small businesses, Hampshire opened its heart to America's First Responders Fest. The support was overwhelming. A true celebration of unity, gratitude, and community pride.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough. But if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. At ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
So I think the Sox are on now. So, geez. Audio random. I should be hearing the. Oh my God. Okay, now I know what's wrong with that. So transition there. All right, so we should still be on Zoom here.
There we are.
All right. Hold on a second. I got to check the radio. Yeah, it's a little weird doing this without supervision. Can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if we're going over YouTube, though.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Through the radio or through the phone? Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, we're live on YouTube. All right, thanks, Tom.
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Bye. All right, Paul, we're good.
All right.
We're live on YouTube. So
okay.
Let's continue. We got the whole time because we won't have any commercial breaks or anything because it went to automatic. So the White Sox are playing now. So everyone else, they're listening to me and seeing me fumble along on this because I'm all by myself here. So it should be fine. Anyways, yeah, so my idea is to scale a train on train tracks, right, on the tracks. Now, currently the model...
So the scales go from like T, T, G, N, HO, S, O27, O, G, and large scale and G.
Yeah, well, something that the roof of the roof of the box cars will be able to hold like a 1-inch by 2-inch half-volt solar panel. Because they're like the ones that you see that that power your sidewalk lights and everything like that. Those things that's a half. That's like maybe 100 milliamps, but it's only a half a volt. So to scale this thing with all the cars, instead of having the train run off the power coming through the tracks, right? To have it run strictly through the solar panels and any of these, garden light batteries that hold the charge at night, so they charge up during the day and then they release the charge at night. And normally they last about 12 hours until the batteries, after a while, the batteries just go bad, Right. But the solar panels can go bad too. So if someone did an experiment where, like Mythbusters, where you could put these solar panels on the train, make sure that the train was weighted to scale, like if it's 1/100th scale and the train weighs 100 tons, then whatever on the track there has got to weigh 1 ton total. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
That's 100th. So the whole thing's got to have that. And to see if the solar panels will push that train any distance and see how long it'll last with the batteries. So start off with the solar panels there to charge running the train and charging the batteries with any excess charge, and then run it at night, see how long it could go. That would be an interesting experiment because that would be the ultimate in like green energy, right, Paul?
Correct.
Our trains would just be it would be like free, the free electricity. You wouldn't be using the diesel fuel anymore to power this, and it can just go on forever without even refueling. It's just a matter of charging the batteries. I've got to think that somewhere in the world of 8 billion people, that someone has already done this or crunched the numbers and said, no, it ain't going to happen. You know? What do you think, Paul?
I think you're right.
Yeah, because you don't see they had a solar-powered airplane, and it was made of ultra-light materials, like as light as possible. And it had one person in it, and then it had a bunch of the solar cells powering an electric motor that gave the thrust for this thing to attain lift. It was very limited in its design. It was designed to fly on solar power and not crash, but it wasn't designed to maneuver or to carry large amounts of cargo. So, you think by this time, and this is, I'm pretty sure that they had this like 30 years ago. A guy had done it. They have the pedal power aircraft, and they have you could get a hang glider and put a fan on your back, but just to have it for the trains there. And the reason I'm focusing on the trains is, what is our option if for some reason we don't have oil and we don't have coal to use in these trains? How do we power them now? Either wood, and then you're going to have to convert back to that steam power. Or steam powered. Right. You could have a steam powered instead of, okay, so you're taking a step in the efficiency. Every time you add a step, you reduce efficiency.
Is back or neck pain keeping you from
Here we
living
go.
the life
Got
you
a hard
love?
break. You
At
spent
St.
all
Joseph
that.
Hospital in Elgin, our spine specialists
Look.
help patients
No, I
get
think
back
that's
to
the other
moving,
one.
working, and enjoying life again. Often with minimally invasive treatments and faster recovery.
What's coming in on us?
The care you need, the expertise
I know you
trust,
and I are
right
in it,
here
but I
in
don't
your
think
community.
anybody else is.
Visit stjosephLGN.com
Okay, well, I can talk
to
right through
schedule a
that.
consultation. St. Joseph Hospital, celebrating 125 years of compassionate care.
Yeah,
After every herbicide pass, your crop stops growing and starts recovering. That's 7 to 14 lost growing days.
Matt
And on
didn't tell me
500 acres, up to
to
$47,000 in
how to
lost
zero
yield.
out those
Relax
commercials in
RX
my
compresses
headphones.
that recovery window, so your crops
Solar
get back
One
to
was
building
the
yield.
first man
Every herbicide
solar
pass has a
flight
price.
in
Relax
1978.
RX lowers it.
All right.
Visit bwfusion.com/stressless or call 515-554-3814.
The Gossamer Penguin was in 1980 with the second true solar flight.
Yeah, because they're getting lift. Now, you could take a balloon, right, a dirigible or a blimp, and because that's going to be a lighter than air aircraft and it's just going to float there, then you can put electric motors on there that are powered by solar panels, so long as the solar panels don't outweigh the lift of the helium or the hydrogen that you're using.
Get in the game with WRMN
And
AM 1410.
you can probably keep that blimp up
WRMN brings you
indefinitely, so long as you don't have the leakage of the hydrogen or the helium. And even with the complete enclosed balloon or whatever, there's still,
so whether you're driving, working, or just
it's
can't
not
get enough
adhesion.
sports, turn it on and stay in the
You'll
game.
still lose helium because it'll find little holes through the material, molecular holes, right, where the helium will push through. Because it's a higher pressure inside the balloon than outside the balloon. So, as we know with entropy, everything's trying to equalize, right? It's all trying to mix up. And so it's trying to push out and equalize this pressure. So you're going to have to constantly replace the helium. It's like when you see the Mylar birthday balloons filled with helium. After a while, you can see them shrinking because the pressure is equalizing, and then they hit the ground, after a while. And that's without being popped or any pinholes or anything. It's just boop. Just going to naturally leak through the Mylar system. It's but okay, so stick to trains here. The most, like I said, the most efficient system, you don't have a cutout, right? So steam power, moving pistons, which move the wheels. Boom, right? Very simple, most efficient. Second most efficient, right, is where they have steam powering a generator, which now powers the generator, which creates electricity that powers an electric motor. All right. So what you're changing the friction of the pistons and the moving parts for a resistance, a loss of electricity through the copper or whatever lines. You're going to have certain heat and resistance loss. But because you could burn different fuels, right? You can use diesel. You don't have to you can make the steam that turns the generator, or you could just have the engine that just turns the generator. So like one or the other. The heat and water to make steam was as efficient as the internal combustion, which is trying to explode all that gas and create movement. So things like everything kind of comes around to its most efficient thing. And if you can make something more efficient than that, then that other thing should die out after a while, should become archaic, right? So my theory is that the most efficient thing is the diesel electric generator. Because the fuel system, you could hold fuel, right? You could hold more fuel. You're not coal. Again, if you have to use coal, then you're pulling a lot of your weight, right? So you're not as efficient in carrying cargo because you're burning up half your cargo to get long distances, right? So this being the most efficient thing, it's going to stay there for a while until something comes out that's more efficient, right?
Right.
The better mousetrap. So we're kind of peak efficiency right now. The only thing I could think of that would be more efficient is nuclear. And again, you're using steam, right?
Right.
Because nuclear is heating the water, creating steam, turning a generator, and getting the energy. But you're not burning any fuel, and your fuel's a lot smaller. It's just what contains it. And like, oh, you're nuts putting nuclear power on a train. Well, trains aren't much smaller than a submarine. And we've had nuclear-powered subs for years.
Well,
businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't.
And they put them in the subway,
the Better Business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you.
Yeah.
That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
All right, so
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes
right now,
without it managing
my theory is that trains are at their peak efficiency. That no one's really come to anything better. That's why we haven't seen them much updating
knowledgeable
on this
support.
stuff.
Plus, we'll check your insurance.
Maybe the motors
so your
will get better,
care
but
may be covered at little or no cost to you.
How long do you think one of these diesel electric locomotives
Don't
will
let
last
diabetes hold you back. Choose US Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures,
before they have to
better
totally
anniversaries,
replace it. I know
and
they can
better
rebuild
everything.
it.
Call
I'm
now.
looking at the thing is,
Med,
if you build
better
these things,
service,
cost millions of
care.
dollars.
800-785-1673.
And if you rebuild it,
785-1673.
you're just rebuilding certain parts. I mean, the body, the wheels, you can replace the wheels. As things wear out, you just replace
What's
the parts.
the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't
It's
want?
not,
Call the timeshare
and we've had
exit
B-52s
hotline.
up there now
We're a group
for
of attorneys
like
that help
77
customers
years.
legally exit their timeshares.
So
It's
these
an
trains
easy
could have been around
process.
for
We'll
77
guarantee
years, and maybe
results
there's
or
no
you pay
innovation
nothing.
because
Exit
there's no
your
need to
timeshare
replace them.
today. Call now.
800-890-5957.
Can you hear me, Paul?
800-890-5957.
Your face
That's
has been frozen for like the last 10 minutes.
800-890-5957.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, it's Andrew Benintendi, left fielder for the Chicago White Sox. You're listening to White Sox Baseball. WRMN, Voice of the Valley, talk to the team. Your home for White Sox Baseball, the Fox River Valley.
Commercials coming over the air, coming over our show. I have no idea how to stop that.
That's all right. We'll work with it.
Yeah. Oh, come on. All right. Well, okay, maybe if I put my headphones on, I'll hear you better. Can you say something, Paul?
Hello?
Yeah, there we go. It was the headphones.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we're good. You can hear me, though, right?
I could, but you're not moving.
I'm not moving.
Yeah, you've been frozen. You're it's like you were now.
Well, I just switched back.
Yeah, you're still frozen.
I'm still frozen. Oh, it's on title card. Okay, let me see now. No, I'm not moving. Transition again. Stop recording, stop streaming. Stop for studio mode. Stop streaming settings. No, don't want to do that.
Oh, wow. That's your old spot.
I know.
But I'm off. Now I'm on.
Yeah, you're on there. I see the train, but I'm not on. So
you're frozen.
I am frozen. So I think that's a Zoom thing right now. Participants 2. WRM host me. All right. Start video again. I know, still frozen. Transition. C1, Zoom 1, and C1, computer 1. This is going to be the funniest show ever because it's just me trying to figure out how to do all this stuff.
The general.
C1 solo, still not moving. C2 solo. Here, you know what? Let me try this. Okay. Participants 2. More. Let me see. Ask to invite host tools for just merge to meeting window. No. All right, here we go. Here. Boink. Pin. No. Not rename. Mute all. Invite and share. Participants video. OBS virtual camera. HD video 1. Logitech webcam.
Now we're both off. Yeah.
Now you're there. You should be there now.
We're not.
Oh, I stopped the. Cannot start video. Boom. Let's do this again. Video. Virtual cannot. Failed to start video camera. Okay, wait.
There we are.
There we are?
Yeah, but you're still frozen.
I'm still not talking, huh?
You're talking, but your image, it's like you got a kink in your neck for the last 15 minutes.
Okay, and I have no idea why that's froze up like that. 300.
Maria Mueller and Cleveland Dennis say that transmission is all good, but now I'm off. Now I'm back. And
hey, it's Andrew Vaughn, first baseman for the Chicago White Sox. You're listening to White Sox Baseball. WRMN, Voice of the Valley, Talk of the Town. Your home for White Sox baseball in the Fox River Valley.
I got you moving. I'm still not moving. So
right.
I don't know why that Zoom 1 and C1, and that C1 should be the camera one, and it's just sitting there. Got the Samsung, that's you. Radio host me. Video, stop video, start video. Yep. And yeah. All right. Have no idea. Scene transmissions cut duration. Computer 1, PIP C1, C2. All right, that's
your old spot.
That's my old spot. I wonder here. I'm going to walk around to the old spot because I'm going to see. Let me see. That's going to be number 3. Put up number 3 here. Ah, there I am.
You're live.
All right. So, can you hear me, Paul?
I can.
All right, so nice.
So while I was preparing for the show, I got out one of my old BBC history magazines, and the title of this was in. Hold on. Well, all I know it was volume 11, number 12, and it says, "How Trains Won War." All right.
Yes.
And it's by an author who wrote a book about this, and it was Christian Walmart, and his theory was that after the advent of modern trains, the battlefield drastically changed from basically the Crimean War until the Korean War and post that. And, you know, he makes an interesting finding, which is why I answered the question a little bit differently at the beginning. There was a huge Trans-Siberian Railroad that was created in the late 1890s. Yep. And that was used during the Russo-Japanese War of 1905. And the Russians are considered to have lost that war, but the communists used that rail line to dramatic effect in their takeover of the country a few years later in 1917. And if you ever watched the movie Dr. Zhivago, which is more modern time, but in reality it was written, but it showed World War I times, the train was used quite effectively in the revolutionary takeover.
Yeah, well, you have a very large country, the Soviet Union, and in the winter, the Northeast Passage isn't open, so you can't go all the way above Siberia and come down through the Bering Strait, you know? So you had the Trans-Siberian Railroad, which went from, St. Petersburg to Moscow to Volgograd, and then all the way across all the stands, the Ural Mountains, and ended up in Vladivostok. So that was what carried all the news and all the information and all the troops from east to west. I mean, you would have to march them, and it would take months and months and months to march that many troops clean across Russia at the time. So if you seized the Trans-Siberian Railroad, you could put your troops in all the towns across Siberia, all the towns across Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all that until you get to Vladivostok there, right? And you control everything. You control the country because you control the communications. You control the logistics. You control the food and the fuel and everything that's getting to these people. But even before that, I think that one of the first generals who realized how important the rail lines were for warfare, right, was Grant during the Civil War. I mean, he specifically targeted rail lines. He's like, no, we're going to block this rail line here. We're going to block it there. And if we block all their supplies coming in or out, we cut them off from their supplies, their armies are going to fall apart. They can't move their armies. And you know, in World War I, in 1914, the Russians mobilized real fast in the east, right? And they overran the German, the Prussian, the Austrian, and the Hungarian forces in Poland, the occupied Polish areas there. And they brought back Bismarck, right? And he mobilized all the troops using the rail lines. He flanked the Russians, you know, so he moved all his troops with the rail lines. And here, it's now I got the whole White Sox game in the background, and I don't want to mess with anything on that computer to show up the to block what they're broadcasting. I don't want to touch any of that stuff, so kind of at a loss here. But all right, so if you're that's what I'm talking about, national defense there. So we have like the 1st Armored Division, which is very heavy, right? Lots of tanks, right? And they're at Fort Hood, Texas, right? They're at Fort Hood, Texas. And Fort Hood is in the center of Texas. It's not near a river, a big river, where you could put this stuff on, put these things on barges and then barge it out to the ocean and tow it wherever you need it, right? Or transfer it to a bigger container ship or something. So the option would be to put these things all on the roads, and you're talking about tanks on roads. Our roads aren't made to hold tanks and tank treads, and it's very inefficient because these things get like a mile to the gallon, and when you're talking about 1,000 tanks, heavy equipment, self-propelled howitzers and everything, put those all on the roads, and you're going to have the interstate systems just falling apart. You don't even have enough prime movers. A prime mover would be a truck that can carry a tank. And that's going to be one truck per tank, and hauling it down, getting it on there, getting it off, all the stops it would have to make if the road got blocked, if a bridge went out for whatever reason. All right? So the most efficient way is to throw them onto the rail cars and take them to the port of embarkation and then load them onto ships or load them on the landing craft, load them on the Navy, get them over to where they're needed. The fastest way to get from point A to point B from the center of the United States are these rail lines. That's why every military post out there has a rail line hooking into it, right? Because that's our efficiency. Now, some of these rail lines haven't been used in years, right? But they're still maintained just in case. You think of the 82nd Airborne in Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg has a railhead leading in there.
Chicago defense attorney Mark Sheblow has co-authored the book titled DUI Jury Trial, which is a true story of a DUI case that he defended. The accused was an Illinois truck driver arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. This book contains facts about the case from the date of the arrest up to the jury's verdict, and this nonfiction novel also includes the transcripts from the jury trial itself. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
WRMN brings you White Sox baseball, talk and local news from the Fox River Valley. WRMN AM 1410.
And Chicago was the main hub for the rails in the turn of the century, because we had the California Zephyr, which ran from Chicago to San Francisco daily. It was a 2,438-mile trip that took 51 hours. And then we had the Empire Builder, which went from Chicago to Seattle, Portland, which was 2,200 miles. And then we had the 20th Century Limited, which went from New York to Chicago from 1902 to 1967. So you could actually board a train in New York and take it clear across the country in about 4 or 5 days, which is incredible at the time. Now, in the United States, during the steam time, the locomotives were determined by the wheel, and they had them classified like the General was 440, which means it had 4 pilot wheels, 2 on each side, 4 motive wheels, which were in the middle, 2 on each side, and 0 in the back. Now, as we went to the big boy, which was the largest locomotive ever, it was 4884. So it had 4 forward wheels, 8 driving wheels, 8 more driving wheels, and 4 trailing wheels to support the steam box. Now the big boy is unique because it had a porch at the front, which was really cool. And it was 132 feet 10 inches. It weighed 560 tons. It had a cylinder diameter of 23 3/4 inches and a piston stroke of 32 inches. The driving wheel diameters were 68 inches. The power was 6,360 horsepower at 42 miles an hour, and its maximum speed was 80 miles an hour. And it had a tender capacity of 28 tons and a water capacity of 28,000 gallons, 25,000 gallons.
Nice. I think I'm back. I still got the White Sox. I still got the White Sox games in my headphones, but I'm hoping that when I do the show, when I re-edit the show, it's not going to be there. So I'm going to have this here going. Well, that's one thing I couldn't figure out. I got us working on the screens again. You know, the one didn't. It froze there, but this is the actual camera. You know, got the sound working. My buddy Tom out there called me up and says, "Hey, you're still on YouTube." So I'm like, "Okay, that's good." All right, so
Nice.
Back.
Okay. When you watch YouTube, we don't hear the Sox game. That's only on the Zoom with us.
Yeah, so it's somehow it's through this board, but not into the Zoom, because the Zoom goes into the YouTube. That's a good question I'll have. And so, all right, so I was talking again about the military bases and having these trains ready to go to move our stuff to the shipping, to the ports of embarkation, where everything's going to get loaded up, because we really don't have enough aircraft to move this stuff, to move an armored division. And like I said, 82nd Airborne, you know, where they're airborne and you drop brigades, and we could probably drop a division anywhere in the world within 24 hours, probably even less. We'll get at least one brigade in within 12, and I'd say we get one brigade anywhere within 12 hours, you know. But to get all the support units over there, to get everything there, because one brigade can't take over the world. Well, there's some parts of the world that they could take over. One brigade of the 82nd, I bet against them on entire countries. You know, but
how many men are in a brigade?
That's about 5,000. About 5,000 guys. You know, it depends on what size the brigade is, whether they're plussed up, whether they're heavy, whether they're light, you know, what type of brigade they are. We're talking about an infantry brigade. And here's the thing, right? So when you talk about military, a lot of people have a confusion between a brigade and a regiment. All right? So you'll hear the 75th Ranger Regiment, and then you'll hear the 173rd Airborne Brigade. And what's the difference between? They're about the same amount of people. But when you're talking about a regiment, that's all homogeneous troop. That's one type of unit. A regiment is going to be nothing but infantry, right? And a brigade will be infantry, artillery, armor, a mix, right? So it's like a self-supporting smaller unit, whereas a regiment is just that type of unit. So you have like the Ranger Regiment. All right? They're just Rangers. Right? They have little support units within there, but it's a Ranger Regiment. They have Ranger battalions. They don't have a support battalion. They don't have artillery battalion. They don't have anything. They have the Ranger Regiment. Then you have the 2nd and the 3rd ACR, Armored Cavalry Regiment. So they're all Armored Cavalry. All right? Then you hear regiments like the 187th. Well, that is more for historical lineage and everything, all right? Because they have battalions within that regiment, but those battalions are split off to different brigades, all right? So the regiment itself isn't in control except for the infantry battalions, all right? And then those battalions fall under different brigades. So the Parachute Infantry Regiment, PIR, right? In airborne school, they're all parachute infantry regiments. They're not broken up into brigades because they're all parachute infantry school. All right, so where did they get off? I got off on a tangent there because we're trying to focus on the. Oh, I'm saying about mobilizing the troops. So the U.S. Army still maintains over 1,000 pieces of rolling stock, specifically for the U.S. Army, all right? So these are designed to move tanks, heavy equipment, you know, heavy trucks. They're not commercial. They're owned by the Army, but the Army owns the rail systems on their post, and they have some rail systems that are exclusive to the Army, like a rail line that'll go from Fort Hood to let's say Houston, all right? That'll be a port of embarkation. And the reason being is because they don't want any other traffic. When you have to move the division, you don't want to wave any other traffic out of the way. You don't want someone's commercial, commercial train loaded with Christmas presents going north, blocking the tracks on you. If you look at all the other countries in the world, and this was on Wikipedia, and yeah, Wikipedia, it's like iffy on some things, like certain actors' heights and weights, it's kind of iffy on. But when you get to hard numbers, like who's got the most kilometers of track in the world? United States, all right? And what is United States? It's privately owned. I mean, Amtrak is subsidized, right? But you have Union Pacific, you have Northwestern. What? Give me the lines that are still in operation, Paul.
Well, you got CSX, Burlington Northern Santa Fe. You got let's see, Conrail still, and Canadian National.
Santa Fe still going?
You probably got some other short lines. You got the EJ&G, Elgin, Joliet, and whatever. So you got those, and you got the Milwaukee Central, Illinois Central. Let's see what else. Something out in the Pacific, like the Western. So you got a few railroads left.
All right, so I figured on that other camera, I must have somehow taken a still picture and it locked on that.
Okay.
And I must have. All right, so the thing is that they're all private. Those are private, a little bit subsidized by the government because, again, right, it's in the government, in our national defense's best interest to maintain strong lines. Some of these lines aren't utilized, but the government wants them open just in case, right? So they subsidize this stuff so that the professionals out there, not the Army Corps of Engineers or anything, the professionals that run the Union Pacific lines, right? That they have the engineers, right?
Norfolk and Southern too.
Yeah, they have the engineers and they have the experts to maintain these lines. Because when you're talking about rail operations, and this is cool, right? I looked up military rail operations, and the first thing that came up was on Kindle. All right, so they have an Army FM manual on Kindle. I don't know if they should be selling it on Kindle. I hope the money goes to the U.S. government because I gave Kindle $3 for this, right? So they took the PDF version, they made it into a Kindle version, and it's the, it should be up on my Kindle. There we go. I was just looking at Kindle. All right. FM4, come on. Boom, 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 boom. FM 4-01.44, the former FM 55-20. So they
that would be a Fairbanks Morris diesel.
Well, FM in this case is field manual.
Oh.
All right. So the military, the Army has everything you ever wanted to know. They have in a field manual somewhere. It's all there. And they have, the great thing is they have the Department of Defense library system, and it's all digital, the digital thing. Now, some of the thing is classified. Some of the thing isn't quite classified, but it's not authorized for release. So it's kind of like, we talked about classifications before. So FOUO, for official use only, is not a classification. 3 classifications: confidential, secret, top secret. Boom. Caveats are in there, right? But those are the big 3. amongst their sub-caveats.
Feeling life is sneaking up on you.
So some of these field manuals are like for official use only, not releasable to the public.
New expectations.
Because we don't want, they contain not classified stuff, but a little bit sensitive. So the Army they went all over everything, and it's like all the personnel manuals are under 1. Because that's personnel. All the intelligence manuals are under 2. All the operations manuals are under 3.
They know life
and
gets
all
busy. That's why they're here.
Logistics supply manuals are under 4. And obviously, rail operations is
Their
logistics and
advanced
supply.
brush-free wash technology delivers sparkling clean without a single scratch. Because they treat your car like it's their own.
If I'm talking louder,
Here's the best part. Right now, you can get a free car
in my
wash
headphones
just
here.
for joining their text club.
So rail
it's simple.
transportation.
Just text BRITT to 30400, and your first wash is on them. Britain's touchless car wash has 2 convenient locations.
I got to go back.
1923 Larkin Avenue in Elgin.
There's 4 things.
And 555 Willow in West Dundee.
4 things.
They're proud to keep your car clean.
They break it down right off the beginning. They go.
Text
operating the train, right? If you don't have someone that knows how to drive the train,
BRITT to 30400.
Then it's just going to sit there
for your free
or it's going to go and never
see
stop.
Why Britain's touchless car wash is the
second
fast,
thing
gentle,
is
and
maintenance of the way,
choice.
the tracks. Not just the tracks, right? But where the tracks go through. So if you're going through a jungle or a forest, trees are going to be falling, trees are going to have overgrowth and everything. So you're going to have people going there and clearing that way, all right? And bridges, right? Someone's got to maintain those bridges and keep the bridges up. That's expensive, putting up a bridge. And then maintenance of the equipment. So just because you know how to drive the train doesn't know you know how to fix it, right? So you got to maintain all this equipment, the equipment that's used to maintain the tracks, the train, and everything else. And then the control, the train controls, you know? So you don't want to be like Gomez Adams, right? Crashing them into each other. Although that's pretty good control because he always had a time to a certain area where the dynamite was and everything, and crashing the trains into each other. And you'll see that where there are out there, you don't hear about it too often, but every once in a while, you'll have head-on collisions between 2 trains going in 2 different directions on the same track. And that's a problem of the yard masters and the train control. Right now, it's all getting computerized. They're using AI and everything. Who's on what track where? It's a logistical. It is a logistical nightmare. It's like the train version of air traffic control. All right. Probably not as high as a kill ratio unless 2 commuter trains hit each other at a high rate of speed, then you'll have like an airline things. But you don't really see that. And when was the last time you heard about a head-on collision that caused passenger fatalities in the United States?
Well, I know there have been some commuter ones, but the last bad one was, I believe, around Chicago by the 2nd District over there. That was in the 1970s.
And it was like 2 Amtrak trains hit each other or 2 Metro trains?
No, it's like a commercial train ran into another one. It was the commuter train. ICG.
Yeah, so commercial hits a commuter train.
Yeah.
There you go, you know. That's guess which one's going to win that one?
Yeah, the freight train.
But so you need to do those 4 things.
Well, you know, they're doing an automated rail system now. They're putting them up all over. And it's going to take control away from the engineers if they're too close to another train now.
Yeah, well, so again, okay, so they have an electronic control system that says, okay, you're too close, and it's going to automatically put a governor on that train or slow the train down. Electronically, it's going to say, don't go this fast, and then it's going to stop the trains before they hit each other. Now, how long does it take a train that's 2 miles long, fully loaded with coal, coal, right? 2 mile long train, fully loaded with coal, traveling at 60 miles an hour.
It's not going to stop on a dime, that's for sure.
It's going to take miles to stop that train without wrecking it, because you could stop it real quick, all right, by hitting it with another train. But if it's got the same momentum, it just stops, right? Or, it goes off the tracks or something like that. So that's going to take some computation. So what's close for 2 cars and 2 trains, totally different thing, right, Paul?
Right.
5 miles could be danger close. Right?
Correct.
So we're talking like 250 feet is like danger close for an aircraft. Like artillery rounds. You don't want to be that close. But the problem comes if you're overly reliant on that. And again, if the electronic systems go out, boom, they're gone. What do you got to rely on now?
Mechanical.
Not just mechanical, but human, right? And what do you have to have for humans? Training and experience. That crap isn't done in an hour. Look, I had like an hour with Matt there, and I totally messed it up. A couple days with that stuff, with the control board there, I'm sure I'll be fine. I mean, we hit one thing here that I'm hearing in my headphones, but no one else is, so that's pretty cool, right? But if you don't maintain some semblance of now what we would call institutional knowledge and institutional skill sets, when that electronic stuff goes out, then everything's going to stop until that electronics gets fixed, right? And it's like, holy cow. You know where that doesn't work well, Paul? The electronics controlling everything? 911, the police system.
Right.
When that goes out, when that system goes out, guess what they're doing? They're writing down on cards.
Yeah.
They're writing stuff down on cards, and they're back to the radio, right? A lot of stuff now gets dispatched right to the computer. Nothing going on. The radio's like quiet, way quieter than it ever used to be. A lot of that is it's digital too, right? They went from analog to digital. But when that stuff goes kablooey, the only thing you got, right, is these cards. And if the radio transmissions go out, then you're going to have sergeants going to the to the station, picking up dispatches over the hardline telephone, right? Then coming and handing them out to you, because if the radios go out, the cell phones are going to go out. Everything's going to be kablooey there. Hardline phones may or may not work because that's all electronic thing. It gets to the point where you're going to go back to the tin can on a string and call box stuff, but you still have to have that institutional knowledge, right? How to dispatch those jobs. All right, the telephone lines of, the computer lines are down. The computers aren't working. They hacked the 911 system and they locked it up. Okay, you still have to respond to the calls. So now you got to go back to the paper. So if you're having air traffic controller, right, you still got people there. Do you think they're going to AI air traffic control?
No.
No, never. But they're trying to do it with the trains. To a certain point, yes, you can kind of stop a train where you can't stop an aircraft in midair. It's like, oh, stop. They're getting too close. Stop. Okay, let's move them. Like in the superhero movies where the guy moves real fast and it looks like everyone else is standing still. You just go, boop, freeze it. And get up there, giant hands come out and move the planes away from each other. Now, okay, good to go. Well, again, you can stop the trains. It will take time. After you stop the trains, Paul, how long does it take to get that train back up to 60 miles an hour?
Well, it depends. But the steam ones used to take a long time, but it could take a while.
So your greatest once you're at cruise speed, right? Once you're at that 60 miles an hour, right? You're in cruise control.
Right.
You're smooth. You're be at your most efficient time in engine usage, right? In energy. If you're constantly starting and stopping, starting and stopping, stopping and starting, you're burning a lot more energy. You're a lot less efficient. It's taking a lot longer.
Two analogies that you made are kind of interesting because you talked about the Gomez-Adams thing with the model trains.
Yeah.
You know where that came from?
Nope.
It came from a Christmas episode of The Twilight Zone called The Night of the Meat. That layout was used in a store display. But when you're talking about how you restart a train, before they had electric trains, they had clockwork trains. So you wound them up and you put them on the track and you click the lever and the train would go around. Usually go around 4 or 5 times before it stopped, okay? But what they noticed was when you tried to start the train, it wouldn't move. Do you know why?
Because there's too much torque in the wheels and it's spinning the wheels.
Nope. There was too much, not any momentum. So they had it. So Marx invented this coupler that would slide, and all of them slid up. And then when the train started, it had some slack and more slack and more slack until it built up speed. So that was a famous invention by the toy train companies that allowed the couplers to then go. Otherwise, if they were at full tension, they couldn't move it.
I get it.
It had to have some slack to move the cars, and then they all got going.
They get momentum, and the first car moves, right? So they got the momentum with the first car, and then the slack gets taken up on the second car and slows the first car a little, but just a little, right? But then it pulls the second car, and now you got that mass moving, and it gives you momentum. Yeah, it gives you the momentum, right? And you talk conservation of momentum, right? And that's the trouble with stopping a train, is that you've burned all the most energy you're going to use is getting that momentum. The most energy, once you get a spacecraft, one of these rockets into space, right? Once you get the space shuttle up into space, right? It burns like all of its energy just to get up there. Once it's up there, it just needs a little burst, and it's going all the way to the moon, right? Just a little burst, because there's no gravity. There's a little bit of gravity, but there's no friction, resistance, and they're caught in that dead space between the moon's gravity and the Earth's gravity, right? So it's kind of free flowing. And then they could actually use the moon or use another planet or use the sun's gravity to actually pull you. Like, you only have to get halfway to a certain point, and then the moon will pull you the rest of the way. It's like getting behind the truck and, what do they call it? They call it,
drag.
Well, you're coasting behind the truck. It's not drafting. So you're like the race car drivers, right? They'd rather be in third place. They'll sit there in third place, right, behind the first and the second car, because they're in that space where they're still catching a little of a vacuum's created, right? The vacuum's created, and they're getting sucked into that vacuum. But as they're getting sucked into the vacuum, like you said with the train, right? The first car and the second car are burning more energy because they're pulling every car behind them. Every car behind them is getting pulled. So if you're like in that third place there, right? You're pulling less cars than they are. So when it comes, you're going to have more fuel. You won't have to make that final stop, right? or you're going to have, especially in the final laps, you're going to have that little bit of extra fuel where you could really put it to metal, burn like mad, and still have fuel across the finish line, where if the guy in the beginning tried to match you, right, he's going to run out. So, because they're only limited to a certain amount of fuel as they start, and oil, which is, but the same thing, if a train's only got the amount of oil, the amount of diesel fuel that it needs to get from Chicago to Los Angeles, and suddenly you stop it 3 times, it's going to have to stop somewhere to refuel. And they just, you just don't stop at the train gas station, or like the Old West, where they would stop and they would open the thing and the water would come in and they would have, get coal or wood, pick up coal or wood and continue on, right? They're going to have to go into a rail yard to get refueled and then leave the rail yard and continue on. So AI in that situation, actually controlling when these trains stop and everything, it's going to be, here's what's going to happen, Paul, is you're going to be paying 2 people to do one job. One person's going to be real. The other person's going to be kind of fake. He'll be AI, artificial, not really a person, but the person to program the AI, right? So you got 2 people that you're paying to do the same job, because you cannot just let AI do this stuff. There's too much. I think it's way too much. If someone disagrees with me and you got a big computer brain, I can't answer the phone, but put up on the comments. Booter, it's outstanding show. And no one's up there in the comments. That's cool. But do you see people on the comments? Maybe I didn't refresh ours.
Yeah. The last one was about 20 minutes ago with Dennis.
Yeah, what did Dennis say?
And before that, it was Maria. Dennis says, "Oh my God, is Mike right?" And then before that, he said the width of the rails, the local and railroad cars, same as with the wheels of the Roman chariots. And then he said that there's upwards of 13 railheads in the Chicagoland area. And then before that, he said that the former White Sox, Andrew Vaughn, who plays for the Brewers, just voiced his old promo.
Okay. Well, we'll get the next commercial in a bit, but the games go. All right, so the military, going on for national defense, we used to have rail units, and they were strictly reserve units, Army Reserve. All right, so you didn't have them on active duty. So all these guys were in the reserves, because if we went to war, right, we would have these guys go off there and take over a lot of civilian stuff. And it specifically says this in the manual, is that if you're in the rear with the gear, far back, and we go over to NATO, the host nation is going to operate all those rail lines. But when you get into the corps and division area, and you think corps is made up of 2 to 3 divisions, maybe 4 or 5. A real heavy corps is going to have 4. But that's almost like an army, right? 2 corps will make an army and everything. And you think, oh, that's a lot. But actually, a corps is considered a tactical area. It's not operational. It's not strategic. It's tactical. Operational will be Army, Army front, right? Theater, right? Then you're getting a little more, theater is a little more strategic. But on that tactical level, a lot of these guys, because what's going to be a big target on a tactical level, Paul? We see it in Ukraine.
Line.
What?
Supply line?
Supply lines, the trains. The trains. So most of all these guys here, although these rail lines in most of Europe are all nationalized. They're all nationalized. So it's no private ownership there. The country owns the rail line. And so they're civilians operating these trains. They're civilian conductors, civilian engineers, mechanics, everything else. Well, when you get closer to the front, they're not going to want to get bombed. They are a legitimate target. Those trains, logistics is a legitimate target. You could say, oh, it's a passenger train. Yeah, well, they can haul personnel, right? Which personnel on a train, you think, oh, they're not combatants. They're just on a train. No, legitimate targets, right? So that's when our guys will come in and say, well, and when you get to the front there, when we got to deliver this stuff to the front, like heavy equipment, you still want to get those tanks as far forward as possible without having to go over roads and everything.
Does your car need a shine?
Have them break down.
Britain's touchless car wash, they make it quick, easy, and spotless every time. And they're open 24/7 for your convenience.
We no longer have
right now,
MOS
get a free car wash just for joining their text club. Text BRITT to 30400 and enjoy a free car wash.
So what you'll have to have to
Visit
replace
Britain's
that
touchless car wash at 1923 Larkin Avenue
a draft
in or at 555 Willow
for
in West Dundee.
Sets.
Britain's
hey,
for your car.
You work in the rail yards?
For our community.
You're an engineer? How old are you?
We're no strangers to helping
Welcome to the Army.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told.
There's a train for you to drive.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow
we
veteran
still have the institutional knowledge, at least that's written down, on how to do this stuff, how to run the operations and everything.
Even a stranger.
There's the institutional knowledge there.
There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans.
We haven't needed
When was the last time
to
you
seize rail lines.
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment,
if we're traveling long distances,
don't wait. Reach out.
If we have to land stuff in France
/reach
or Antwerp, land them Port of Antwerp, and we got to cart that stuff all the way down to all the way to Orzisz in Poland.
Right.
Hey. We're going to need a rail line. We're going to need people who know how to manage that and everything.
Celebrating 75 years serving the Fox River Valley.
If I'm moving military equipment, I'm making sure that all the civilian stuff is off that line. One, because all the civilian stuff suddenly becomes a target. Because what's the quickest way for me to deny the Army deny my enemy from using that rail line without blowing the whole rail line up? All I got to do is stop one train on it.
Right.
Disable that locomotive. That train's blocked. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while for them to get it moving, to get it there. And what do I don't want? If I stop that civilian train, right? Boom. And now all of a sudden, 5 miles back, my military train is coming to halt because it doesn't want to rear end that civilian train. How long is my military train going to be sitting there as a non-moving target?
Until we clear the trail.
Yeah. And then it's got to take a while to get going, right? 60 miles an hour, missiles coming in. If they're not really targeted, well, yeah. Hopefully you're going to have air defense superiority. Otherwise, an aircraft will just come in and blast that. It's like, but still, it's the most efficient way. And in the United States here, I think the rail lines are the reason. Our rail lines are one of the big reasons for our economy. Now, I don't agree with oil being transported from Canada down to the United States by rail when it could be done by pipeline. Now, here's where, I'm coming around again, and now I'm going to rant. Some people will agree with me and some people will disagree with me. But the pipeline is a more efficient way of getting water or getting liquids from point A to point B. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have pipes leading to our house for water. We would all be getting bottles of water, filling up our bathtub with bottles of water or buckets of water, filling up our bathtub, filling up our toilets, filling up everything with water by bucket and saying, well, this is the most efficient way. They delivered this giant tanker car of water, a water buffalo, so to speak, to my house. every week. And when it's empty, all right, they replace it. What do we have? We have water mains. We have piping stations. Smaller municipalities that deal with their own water have water towers. And the water tower just causes pressure. Loop. And the water, the height of the water, pushing down on it from big pipe to littler pipes cause water pressure. So, you get the water pressure there. So a pipe is the more efficient way of delivering liquids from point A to point B, rather than a train where you have to load the stuff into a car, then it's got to be pulled across, and then you got to unload it from the car. However, some very powerful and influential people own those trains. And that's where they make their big money, is moving the oil. So why don't we have a pipeline when it's more efficient? When I said things tend to fall on the most efficient process. Sooner or later, it becomes, someone develops a more efficient way, and everyone's doing it, right? It becomes the most efficient way possible. Well, there's a more efficient way, and we haven't done it. But again, it's because rich and powerful people. I go back with electricity on this. Of course, we had Edison that was all DC, right? He was direct current guy. And you had Tesla, which was alternating current guy. And Tesla, however, gave it away to a rich and powerful person that says, I can move this stuff via power lines. And then I'll learn the power line to every house and charge every house. We'll meter it and figure out how much they're using. We'll charge every house for it. But Tesla goes, wait a second, you don't need to do that. We could transmit this stuff through the air, and we have this Tesla antenna, what they call it, a rectenna. So it's called a rectenna. So it's a rectifying antenna. So the power hits it, and it converts it into a charge, right? So all you have to do is have all these antennas all over the place. Everyone's got a house antenna, and along with receiving your movies and everything over broadcast TV, boom, you're getting an antenna, and your electricity for your house is coming through that antenna. There's no wires connected. It's all wireless. So what happens when you don't have these wires? What don't you have to do, Paul?
Don't have to maintain them.
Don't have to maintain them. All right? Costs you nothing. Right? You got your transmission, you got receiving. If you got a receiver, right, and you're the homeowner and you want electricity, well, it's on you to keep that receiver going. But how do you charge them for it? Well, it's just a subscription. Everyone gets charged, or you license the antenna. If you want a 10,000 kilowatt antenna, this is what it costs you. You want a 5,000 kilowatt, something like that. But no, because you couldn't control it. You couldn't control the rate of electricity. If you got something like the Niagara Falls, and it's broadcasting electricity all over the place, and people just come in and pick it up for free. Oh no one's making any money off that. So it was I think it was Westinghouse. It was in his best interest to quash Tesla's idea. Because
Edison. It was Thomas Edison.
Edison tried to quash AC, alternating current. He failed. Westinghouse quashed the transmission, the wireless transmission of electricity. All right, and he went with the wired stuff. And once that took off, yes, there's a more efficient way to do it, but it's never taken off because too many rich and powerful people are making money off of it. So they're like, oh, well. So, and it's the one thing, like in the Army or in any other, you go somewhere and you see that they're obviously doing something the hardest way, dumbest way possible. That they actually research the dumbest, hardest way to do something. And you come in there and you say, no, listen, this is going to make it a lot easier. All right? Instead of, filling a bucket with water on the 3rd floor, carrying it down the stairs, right, and dumping it on the ground, why don't you just dump it off the balcony? Well, we've always done it this way. That's the answer you'll get. We've always done it this way. When they have no answer is that, wow, that's a little smarter. I wouldn't have to carry all this and make it more efficient to get all this water off the roof. They go, well, this is the way we've always done it. And unfortunately, a lot of people accept that. Well, it's the way it's always been done. You know, well, we've always used sailboats. You know, well, now we got steam-powered boats. Well, we've always used tanks, all right? Since World War I, we've had these tanks, and now tanks are death traps. They really are, you know? They're the biggest thing on the battlefield that everyone wants to target and blow up. You can't hide them. You can't hide them. They're there. You know? They're bigger than all life. And so, but that's the way we've always done it. And that's the biggest problem in the world. But why? Why? Because how much does it cost to make a dune buggy with what is that, Javelin missile system on it?
Probably a lot cheaper than it would be to make a tank.
Or a couple guys on motorcycles with RPGs. They call them rocket-propelled grenades. But the RPG comes from the Russian, and it's called handheld anti-tank grenade launcher. So it's not RPG, rocket-propelled. It's Ruchnoy protitankový granatomet. All right? Handheld anti-tank grenade launcher. All right? So, man, those guys fired that RPG and they disappear into the wood line. Boom, they're gone. The dune buggy fires the Javelin missile and it hauls out of there at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. All right? And it's not a very big signal, right? And it gets to three places tanks won't go and everything. Boom. But it doesn't cost a lot to make those things. There's not a big profit margin. Even with drones, there's a very, you make the drones, okay, it's got a lot of electronics, so we can boost up the price. Oh, Paul, what do you think about this? What do you think about drone-operated trains? No, everything's automated. No engineer. It's just a drone. That way, the computer can control it. Tell the drone, hey, drone, stop the train. Stops the train. Right? What if the drone sees something in its way and the programming says, okay, you got to stop because that could be a human being, but it's not a human being. It's a train moving 60 miles an hour and some dumb deer walked in front of it. Right? So they're going to stop that whole train for the dumb deer. Unfortunately, yes, I'm an animal lover, everything else, but the difference between that animal life and human life's different thing. But you get where I'm going, Paul?
I do.
I said that things tend to go to the most efficient levels, but then the rich and powerful will eliminate the efficiency because they're making profit off of it.
That's true.
I mean, so after Midway, right? After Midway, why do we continue building battleships? I mean, they're pretty good. We built the Iowa class.
Yeah, but that was it. They canceled the Montana, and there was another one that they canceled
because the war was over.
Right, and then we switched our focus to aircraft carriers.
Yeah, and we should have canceled those orders. I'm sorry to the Navy guys that love the battleships and everything, but as soon as they realized that, a battleship can engage the enemy at close range, 25 miles, slightly above the horizon, and it could lay a level of waste on a beachhead like you wouldn't believe, right? But an aircraft carrier can engage an enemy 250 miles away, get back, return, drop it before the enemy can even get close, constantly hit them. But where was the profit margin? I don't know. How much do you think they made profit on building each battleship?
Is a trusted full-service law firm serving individuals, families, and businesses throughout Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. With offices in Chicago and Schaumburg, their attorneys collaborate across 16 practice areas to deliver strategic, cost-effective
cruisers and the battleships, and they made carriers out of them.
The Bell Law's commitment extends beyond legal services throughout the Bell Law charities, supporting organizations and initiatives.
I think the smartest thing they ever did was take the Victory ships and put flat tops on top of them and throw 8 planes on it and send it out.
Right.
1 in 10
okay,
people
so
aged
if you
50
could
and
build a
older in the
Victory
US
ship
have early
in 30 days,
macular degeneration.
and what, 30 hours, right? That was the record.
No early symptoms.
30 hours.
And you don't know they have it until irreversible vision loss is already
You could build the Victory ship in 30 hours.
When I first found out,
let's give it 48 hours, every 2 days.
It was
you got 20
really
days.
Scary. I mean,
you
my eyes are my living.
20 days, you build 10 Victory ships, right?
My family,
That's
my
80 aircraft.
My pickleball game.
And you send them out.
Everything I do is dependent upon my vision.
In 20 days,
able to spend time
you
with
basically built a full-size aircraft carrier.
Is extremely important. And
if you sink one of these cheap carriers, right?
Don't miss life's
it's
most
still
beautiful moments.
7/8
Schedule
efficient.
a comprehensive eye exam to protect your sight.
Because there's more there.
Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program offers free resources and tips for
hopefully next week I'll be better read up on this. All right?
Learn more.
Someone will stick around and show me a little more on how to shut off this from the Sox game.